Good afternoon. This is the Dvar Torah on Parashat Bechukosai, which is the ultimate and last parsha in Sefer Vayikra. It's quite often read as a double part of a double parsha with Bahar, but this time it is read individually. Now, I'm going to spend most of this Dvar Torah speaking about the first pasuk, but I'd like to look at the overall layout of the parsha first of all. Hashem is making a conditional promise. If one follows his laws, there'll be all kinds of reward for it, for individual and for the Bnei Israel collectively. And if they don't, there'll be, unfortunately, the opposite. Now, if one looks at it and counts, does some counting of Pesukim, there's virtually 3 times as many curses as there are blessings. Now, why does it have to be? Why is it that way? And if you look in Parshas, and they're saying the curses here are dealing with the first temple era, which ultimately led in our exile to Bavel and Persia for 70 years. The one in Kisavo is even more hard to understand, because there, which is dealing with the second temple and the current exile we're in, it's about 12 or 13 Pesukim of blessings, and then there's about another 52 verses of curses. Now, question is, why is that? And an analogy has been given by commentaries, is that if one can visualize an archer, somebody with a bow and arrow, and they usually have a quiver container which carries their arrows. Once the arrows are all used up, you can't shoot anymore. Can't shoot at anybody anymore, or anything, because it's finished. And that is one thing that has to be understood, is that Hashem only punishes us if we don't follow him. And more importantly, there's a limit to the number of curses. And when those are all exhausted, and if one looks at the ones both here and in the other parsha, they're virtually coming to completion as we're getting to the end of days. And also, another more important thing about brachas, Hashem wants us to give us unlimited blessings. There is no limit to the blessings that he can give. And therefore, what is being expressed both in this parsha and in also Parshas Kisavo is the general categories of blessings, not an encyclopedic list of blessings, because as I said, Hashem's blessings are unlimited. Now, with that in mind, I'd like to focus on the first couple of verses. It says, Im Bakutai or Kusai, Telku et Mitzvosai, Vishamru Asem Osam, if you will follow my decrees and observe my commandments and perform them. Natan Nishmagashkem Atav and Natan Naaretz Yavol 8, Ased of Attain Pariv, and if you fall, then I will provide you with rains in their time, and the land will give its produce, and the trees of the fields will provide its fruit. And then it goes on to bless, we're going to have unlimited land, satiety, we're going to be satisfied, and it goes on how it'll be peace in the land, everything will be incredible, and how we will pursue our enemies and they'll fall before us. And we'll be eating old grain before the new grain. And he will promise will be walk among them, or Hashem will be present with us at all times. It then goes on to say, what happens if you don't? Now, I'd like to go back to the word Bakutai. Now, Bakutai, in its literal meaning, means decrees. Now, decrees are usually understood as laws that we don't understand, word chok. That's one meaning of it. Or one implication of it. And mitzvah is one we think we know the reason. The only reason we observe all mitzvahs is because Hashem told us to. but we think we know the mitzvah. We know some of the reasons. We can understand some of the reasons for these certain mitzvahs. But that is not the word Shem used here in the Chumash. He could have said hukim, which would have meant only the laws we don't understand, and we get more reward if we do that. Because it's easy to follow mitzvahs when you think you have an understanding of them, but it goes far, far deeper than that. And the way it goes far deeper is the Orach Chaim HaKodesh gives 42 different explanations of what the word chukim kosai means, huti kosai, and 24 of those are connected to learning of Torah, and the other 18 to other mitzvahs, to other things that have to be done. Now, it uses the word, it says, if you will follow my decrees. Now, follow, in this understanding of the Orach Chaim, means to walk in them, to do them. So what does it now? What does that have to do with Torah study? It means one should be learning Torah at all. To give you an example, should be learning Torah at all times, whether they're sitting in their home, going to the Beit Knesset, or they're even on a road traveling. That's something that should be kept in mind at all times. He goes on to give many other meanings. And he also says, well, why the chok? He also gives the mitzvah of tefillin, one we can understand, putting on the phylacteries as they're called, but the deeper meanings of very wide and deep is which he goes into. Now, therefore, we see that, and if we keep each one of these meanings and observe each one of these things that he sets out, we're going to get blessings. So even in one word, the amount of blessings we're going to get there's 42 variations, and there's even other meanings. Now, why one word? And now, as the Megala Mukot on the Torah, he was a famous Rav from Krakow, Poland, from the 1600s. There are incredible stories about him. In fact, it says on his gravestone that one of the things of him is that he was in direct communication with Eliyahu Hanavi and learned with Eliyahu Hanavi, which is sort of a unique thing to put on the gravestone. He explains that you have, based on Midrash, that hukim, you have to look at it in a deeper meaning. That what does a Midrash explain? That it's connected to the word chakak, which means to inscribe, and in fact, he quotes the Midrash that says, and the ki Torah he chok, in other words, it's unlimited, it's chok, deepness, and gavul, yet it has a boundary, and a meter, and measurement, that is engraved and inscribed in all inyanim. And what he goes on to explain, what does this mean in a deeper level? It means that all of the Torah, the chok, all of the Torah, he used the words of the Torah to engrave and inscribe both the heavens and the earth. And in fact, that the whole universe is based on man, or the form of man and woman, because there are 288 parts to the body, different sinews and stuff, and which represent the positive mitzvahs, and 365 negative commandments, things we're not supposed to do, we're supposed to stay away from. And that's where it also talks in the continuation of Pasuk B'Shem through mitzvot. And in doing all of these halakim represent different aspects of the world, physical and spiritual. And he then goes on to explain that if we keep those commandments and we're reinforcing those aspects of the heavens and the earth, the trees will grow their fruit, the grain, where the grapes will develop, and the wine, and in all other aspects. So therefore, that if we do keep his commands, we are bringing positivity to the universe, and it's going to lead to greater and greater things. That's why I said the brachos were unlimited. Let's look at the curses for a second. On a deeper level, one can understand, as explained by the Leshem, among others, that even the so-called curses, the so-called dark side, those are all part of Hashem's guiding history to its ultimate goal, which is Mashiach and the Tekiyat Mesim. And even things that look negative are all parts of Hashem's plan. And we are his partners, because whether it's going to be positive developments or negative when we stray off the path, Hashem still loves us and is still guiding us. And as we're moving up, we're now on the 37th day of counting of the Omer. May we merit to get to a higher and higher level and have a positive Matan Torah on Shavuos. Good Shabbos and Shabbat Shalom.